There are rare periods in international affairs when movement itself becomes a form of communication. No declaration is made, no speech delivered, yet the signal is unmistakable. Assets shift, personnel disperse, logistics accelerate. What is unfolding around Iran increasingly resembles such a moment. The United States is not merely posturing. It is assembling the infrastructure required for a large-scale air operation. Carrier strike groups are repositioning toward the broader Middle East theater. Advanced missile defense systems are being emplaced to shield priority assets. Non-essential personnel are quietly leaving exposed bases. A significant concentration of aerial refueling tankers and heavy transport aircraft is moving into forward positions. This is no longer hypothetical planning. The machinery of execution is being put in place. Iran, for its part, is responding in kind. Cargo aircraft from Russia and China have been cycling through Iranian airspace with notable frequency, almost certainly delivering military supplies and munitions. Since the middle of 2025, Tehran has accelerated its procurement and stockpiling efforts, with particular reliance on Chinese systems. On paper, this has elevated Iran's air defense inventory to a level that appears formidable, including long-range platforms such as the HQ-9B. But modern air defense is not judged by inventory lists. Its effectiveness depends on integration, redundancy, and the ability to operate as a coherent system under sustained stress. Iran's defenses remain compartmentalized. They can impose costs, but they are not resilient against a prolonged, coordinated assault. From any angle, the trajectory is clear. The clock is running, and Washington is calibrating its timing. Timing, in this context, is the decisive variable. An early strike risks transforming internal discontent into national solidarity, unifying Iranian society against an external threat. A delayed strike risks dissipating strategic momentum and political resolve. Incremental action offers little advantage. What makes this moment uniquely dangerous is its structural significance. These are the kinds of junctures that reshape regional orders and lock in trajectories for decades. The individuals making decisions today will not live with the full consequences of what they choose, but the region certainly will. Conflict in the 21st century, however, no longer unfolds solely through kinetic exchanges. It extends into cyberspace, surveillance networks, and digital infrastructure. The online domain has become inseparable from the battle space itself. For ordinary observers, journalists, and civilians attempting to follow events in real time, connectivity carries hidden exposure. Information leakage, data harvesting, and digital tracking are no longer peripheral concerns. They are integral features of modern confrontation. In this environment, even passive observation carries risk, and information itself becomes a contested asset. Inside Iran, violent unrest continues beneath a layer of enforced opacity. Widespread internet restrictions imposed since early January have severely limited independent verification of events on the ground. This absence of clarity is itself revealing. While protests dominate headlines abroad, their role in American strategic thinking is often overstated. Domestic unrest may reflect genuine grievances and aspirations among Iranians, but it is not the driver of U.S. policy. Recent American positions toward other states demonstrate a transactional worldview in which ideological commitments take a back seat to leverage and outcomes. The renewed American focus on Iran is rooted in unresolved strategic objectives rather than sudden humanitarian concern. The previous round of U.S. strikes against Iranian nuclear infrastructure failed to eliminate the underlying problem. A substantial quantity of uranium enriched to approximately 60% was never located. Iranian planners anticipated the attack and dispersed this material well in advance. If further enriched to weapons-grade levels, a technically manageable step, this stockpile could support the production of multiple nuclear cores. As long as that material remains outside international control, Iran retains a latent nuclear option. From Washington's perspective, that means the file remains open. Iranian officials have attempted to delay escalation by signaling a willingness to re-engage diplomatically. In theory, renewed talks could reduce the likelihood of military action. In practice, the parameters have shifted. American demands now extend beyond enrichment limits and missile reductions to include the removal of existing nuclear material and the dismantling of regional support networks. These conditions strike at the core of Iran's deterrence strategy. This raises a critical question. Is diplomacy intended as a path to compromise, or as a mechanism to establish justification for force once talks inevitably fail? Military preparations suggest the latter. At major U.S. installations such as Al Udeid in Qatar, aircraft not essential to immediate operations have been relocated. Comparable measures are visible at other regional bases. Such steps are not taken when confidence in diplomacy is high. They are taken when planners anticipate incoming strikes. Proximity matters. Several of these bases lie well within the range of Iranian ballistic missiles, which would reach their targets within minutes. Clearing the field is a prerequisite for sustained operations, not a signal of restraint. Yet the most important issue is not capability but intent. Military power without strategic clarity invites mission creep. Publicly articulated objectives remain deliberately vague. They range from coercing Iran back into a revised nuclear framework to facilitating internal political collapse. Each objective implies a fundamentally different campaign. Neutralizing deeply buried facilities requires specialized platforms and munitions. Transforming a political system requires time, persistence, and acceptance of uncertainty. Speculation about leadership targeting has intensified, fueled by recent precedents elsewhere. The assumption is that removing key figures would fracture the system and accelerate compliance. Iran's political structure complicates this logic. Any attempt to conduct extraction-style missions deep inside Iranian territory would face severe logistical constraints. Past failures underscore this reality. More plausible are precision strikes aimed at senior figures, but even these offer limited strategic payoff. Iran's governing ideology is deeply institutionalized, and its security apparatus is designed for continuity under pressure. Removing prominent individuals would create disruption, but it would also reinforce internal cohesion. Succession mechanisms are in place, and power would consolidate rather than disperse. In such a scenario, nationalism would likely intensify, not erode. This suggests that symbolic victories could generate strategic setbacks. Geography further narrows the range of options. Regional states are reluctant to grant overflight access, aware that participation would invite retaliation. This leaves a limited number of operational approaches. A northern route would push U.S. aircraft uncomfortably close to Russian monitoring capabilities. A central corridor through established partners offers operational familiarity but limited surprise. A southern approach via the Indian Ocean provides flexibility and depth, supported by naval assets, but demands extensive logistical coordination. The most plausible scenario involves a combination of these vectors, designed to dilute predictability and manage risk. If the objective is confined to degrading nuclear capacity, such an operation could remain limited in scope. If the objective expands to systemic transformation, the conflict would necessarily escalate. Sustained pressure on military infrastructure, internal security forces, and command networks over an extended period would be required. Even then, outcomes would remain uncertain. Iran's response would scale proportionally. Limited strikes would invite calibrated retaliation intended to re-establish deterrence without triggering full-scale war. Broader attacks could provoke regional escalation. Only if the leadership perceived an existential threat would it consider extreme measures such as disrupting maritime choke points. Both sides understand these thresholds and will attempt to signal resolve while avoiding irreversible escalation. Israel's strategic calculus introduces an additional layer. In the event of regime collapse or severe disarray, Israel would likely move swiftly to neutralize Iran's remaining military capabilities. Transitional periods create vulnerability, and Israeli planners are acutely aware of this. Air defenses, missile forces, and production facilities would become priority targets. The objective would be to permanently degrade Iran's capacity to project power, regardless of the orientation of any successor authority. Historical precedent supports this expectation. This is the underlying logic of power politics. Wars consume resources and lives, but strategic advantage often accrues to those positioned to act decisively at moments of transition. This analysis is not an endorsement of conflict. It is an attempt to describe the incentives and calculations shaping behavior behind closed doors. The unresolved question is whether these calculations are steering the region toward a more stable equilibrium or toward a confrontation whose consequences will extend far beyond the intentions of its architects.